This is not my BMW M3, but this is a 2002 BMW E46 M3. It is carbon metallic over cinnamon, kind of a cool color combination. Almost looks black in some lights, some blue in some others. This is one of my neighbor's cars. Apparently I'm getting to be known around the neighborhood, probably from the 3 or 4 BMWs that are always in my driveway, that I'm into these things. And he's getting ready to sell, looking to move this car on, and it has some issues, which makes it exciting for me. So I'm actually contemplating picking this up as a project and possibly just my own personal car. Haven't really decided yet. So let's just do a quick walk around. Like I said, it's an 02 M3, carbon Schwartz over cinnamon, and what makes it desirable is the wiggle stick. We got 6 positions of fun, 3 pedals of enjoyment, and a drop top. Now I get it, the drop tops aren't as desirable as the coupes, but it's still a pretty nice car. So to start, let's talk about the issues. So he has had this for a number of years. I have all the paperwork that I need to go through. A couple of years ago, it had a code for the catalytic converter on bank 2 being bad. He parked it. He got a quote for $3,000 to replace that cat. Actually from the same shop that the 850i my neighbor has. They were the same ones that quoted that. It's actually probably pretty close. Those cats are pretty expensive. There's ways around it, which we may investigate if we take the project, but that was the main reason it was parked. Unfortunately, since then we've had some other issues. When I went to look at it the other day, it has no brakes. The pedal is all the way on the floor, barely stops. I creep it around the neighborhood with my hand on the parking brake. It's pretty scary, and you know, there is fluid in it. There's no fluid under it that's leaking. More than likely the seals in the master cylinder have gone bad and needs a new master. Also, from sitting in one spot, all 4 tires are square, just even at 20 miles an hour. It's pretty bad. And these are they're decent tires. They're Continentals, nothing crazy, but you can see 2016 date codes, and I think the backs are 2015, so they're basically timed out anyways. Another new development today, our cluster is dead for whatever reason. When I go to start it, a couple of lights will come on, but nothing else. Turn signals aren't working, and that's not just a BMW thing. They were working the other day when I drove it. The horn works. Let's see, do wipers work? Wipers work. Not parking properly, but they work. There we go. The radio does turn on, the HVAC turns on. I have not tried the top or the windows or anything like that. My guess is probably needs ignition switch either cleaned or replaced. Occasionally these clusters will die. They need their traces resoldered, but I don't think that's the issue here because of all the other things that aren't quite working right. Goal for today, we're gonna get this back to the house, get it up in the air, give it a good look over, understand exactly what this car needs, look through some of the history, and go from there, and then make a decision. You know, is this a project we want to take on, either for the channel or for my personal use? And you know, I guess it really comes down to 2 things: what does it need, and what can I get it for? We've talked some numbers initially. I'll tell you about that later, but let's get it back, look it over, then you guys tell me, once we look it over, you know, what do you think of his asking price based on what it needs, what the market is. Fortunately, the market seems to be kind of saturated right now. There's tons of these M3 verts for sale. Most of them are SMG, but there are a few manuals out there, so there's a little bit to compare to. But in the meantime, let's get her back to the house. I'm not going to film because it is super sketchy. with these brakes, and I want all my attention on everything around me in case I need to pull that parking brake and get her reeled in. All right, we got her up in the air in the garage. Here's the piece de resistance, the S54. Again, outside looks pretty good. A little bit of you know, some paint work needs on the front bumper. I do have the plug cover. Parked this over at my neighbor's house on a steep hill. It's really low on gas, and she didn't want to start, so we had to drag her back to the house, and now she's firing back up again. We got her up in the air. Why don't we go under and see what we see? All right, well, at first glance, we do have the splash shield in place, so that's good. I did do a shakedown of the wheel like we always do. That stuff felt pretty good. Looks like original shocks and struts. Don't see anything super crazy. It's pretty dry. And over here, looks just all original. These are BMW controllers. They're probably the original. Steering felt pretty decent for, you know, 20 miles an hour. Let's see our lollipops. They look okay. All right, we got a little bit of dampage on this tray. The trans looks dry though. It could be old oil. This did have a receipt for an oil pan gasket, so that's probably just old. Let's see back here, everything's looking pretty good. The Guibo looks, you guys can't see it, but the Guibo looks pretty good. I don't see any big hairy things hanging out. Let's go back a little further. It's really nice and clean. Let's see, we got our CV shaft at the back of the prop shaft. That's in good shape. Her diff is nice and dry. We did have a receipt for a diff housing gasket, so that's good. Had receipts for new brakes in the back a couple years ago. I'm sure all the bushings are original. So at some point they probably need to be gone through. And right side, yeah, original shocks. So at some point those will need to be redone. CV boots look good on both sides. This thing is sparkling clean. They must have cleaned it up nice for them. I don't see anything underneath. I don't see any damage. Let's see, looking at the subframe mounts. I don't see any cracks there. This has not had the big 3 done, and I really can't see these access panels in the way. All right, let's go back up top. All right, so surprisingly, I didn't really see any oil leaks underneath. It's real nice and clean. Power steering pump way down, or power steering reservoir way down there. I'm not gonna worry about checking filters. I mean, if I end up purchasing it, we'll get new filters. It does have the original exhaust manifolds with SAP still installed. Everything else looks pretty good. So we got to figure out why the cluster's not working. The brakes, there is no brakes. This is full of fluid. I did check that before. It's dirty and nasty, but 100% sure it's just the master cylinder that went bad. The seals went bad, so it's going to need a master cylinder. This does have a code for bank to cat, so it's going to need a cat, or you delete the rear O2 sensors and never see that code again, which is probably what I would do until I got to the point where I wanted to put some headers on. It's the interior, other than a little bolster wear, a little seat tear there, that's pretty common on all E46s. It's pretty clean. The thing I have never seen is this has got like a flat finish on the wood. I'll have to look at the build list again. I don't think anyone's changed that. it's kind of different. I'm used to the glossiness. It does have the wind net in the back, which is kind of cool. Let's pop the trunk here. And let's see, I had the battery cover off for a second. Let's see, we've got the OEM grills. There's some carbon fiber ones, some splitters, so the bottom of that front bumper. R-tab limiters. Oh, so, okay, so these are new R-tab bushings. I did see a receipt in there. Someone looked for a quote, and they declined it. So here's the R-tabs, the limiters, which I don't agree in using. That wants to be able to turn. Let's see, some various little bits and bobs. Washer pump, some console pieces, CD holder, and it does have the GPS nav and the 6-disc CD changer, which is pretty cool. Other than that, nothing of real excitement back here. That back in there, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty clean. Tires are square from sitting. He says it's been sitting for a couple years. That's why there's some lug nuts back there. You got some lock nuts. Other than it needs a good clean. You gotta get some tires. Needs that master cylinder. Figure out what the issue is with that the cluster. I said I think it's an ignition switch because the cluster's dead, and none of the signals work. And I don't. I'll show you here real quick. I don't remember if I showed you, but here we go. So we get a couple lights that come on, but nothing else. So turn signals don't work. Flash to pass doesn't work. Well, it does actually flash, but it doesn't come indicated on. High beams don't work. Fog lights do work. So I don't know. It could be ignition switch. It could be the cluster died. That's sometimes common after battery replacement. They get a voltage spike and they burn. So we'll have to figure that out. It's not too bad to get fixed. There's a guy in California that can fix the traces. So let me get this thing put back together. So I think I'm gonna wrap this one up here, guys. I think overall this thing is in really nice shape. So the body's in excellent shape. Does need a little paint work on the bumper, but the rest of it is in good shape. Runs great. Seems to drive okay, except for the, you know, whole no brakes thing. But I think that's an easy fix. You get some tires on it, clean it up, and I think this thing is going to be a lot of fun. What do you think this is worth? He was asking. He listed it on Marketplace for 14. I think that's probably in the ballpark. If it had tires and the brakes worked. Unfortunately now, you know, the cluster's dead too. That needs to be repaired, but not a big deal. And we kind of talked about it where I'd feel comfortable getting it, and I'm thinking around the 10 mark. And he seems to think that's a good number for him as well. And then he doesn't have to put any work into it. If he wanted to sell this, he would have to put tires on it. He'd have to fix those brakes. And that's also the cat issue as well. What do you guys think? 10K for a 6-speed manual M3 vert. Yeah, it's not a coupe, but I don't care. I mean, a coupe, the same spec, closer to 20 probably. I think it's a lot of car for the money. I think it'd be a fun project for the channel. We got to move out a couple cars out of the driveway first, but he's not in a huge rush. So I think, you know, I think it's a pretty decent deal, but you guys tell me, let me know what you think of this, if make a good project for the channel, and if it's a good deal. With that, I'm gonna end it here. Appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe. We're growing pretty great. Hoping we break the 600 mark by the end of this month in May, and I'm hoping we get to the magical 1,000 by the end of summer. And I think that's very attainable. We got a lot of projects that we can keep bringing to the channel. So again, thank you all for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Make sure you leave a comment below, and we'll see you in the next one.